TV. My great pleasure to be with you on a Libations Friday, loosey-goosey edition of the program. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If, in fact, you're watching on Warchant TV, make sure you like, subscribe, share, celebrate, embrace, tell your friends everything there's possibly do with such a video. We'll hit the like button, all that good stuff. That's what we need from you. Today's show is current in the sense that it is on a Friday. It is Friday. In fact, as I sit here talking to you now from my house, Tom from his, it is not live. I want to get that out there right now. We are not doing this show precisely at 1 o'clock, but rather just before. There's a reason for that. It involves work-related stuff that would bore you if I got into it, but we did want to make sure we had a show, certainly, as they are in camp. They are over in Jacksonville, and we have you covered. So for anything that happens at practice today, make sure you get caught up on Warchant TV and warchant.com. We'll have a practice report later today. Corey and Aslan will check in, giving you information about what happened today at practice. So other than that, we're current. We're good to go. By FCC rule, I have to tell you that we're not 100% live today. So you know that. But it is current in that we are on the air on a Friday. So, again, just check out Warchant TV. By the way, what you should be doing anyhow, if you're watching us on Warchant TV and you're thinking about joining, it's $1. It's $1 to join warchant.com. That's all you got to do, baby. $1. On 3, $1, 1 year. It's a temporary promotion. I don't know how long it's going to last. They won't tell your boy, hey, it ends on this date specifically. Make sure you bang it home and let everybody know when they – no, I don't know. We don't know. But you can head to warchant.com to get signed up. That's what you do. You just go over to warchant.com, type it in. Don't have that preset situation going on there. Just type it in, warchant.com, and sign up. Yeah, hashtag bang it home. For $1 or $1. You got $1 in your pocket right now. You probably do. All FSU fans, limited time only special. It's $1. You'd be silly not to do it. And I mean that sincerely. You get the Jeff Cameron Show every day. You get Wake Up Warchant. You get Seminole headlines. You get our daily features, our articles, everything. This upcoming fall football season, I talked about it yesterday on the show, chock full. Pre-game show with myself and Tom and Dominic Robinson, Aslan and Dominic Robinson, maybe even me at some point in there with Dominic Robinson. We got a large crew that can do this. Dominic Robinson will be the star of the in-game show as he breaks down what Florida State's attempted to do, both formation, look at the defense, the whole thing, the result of the play. You can do watch-alongs, which is really cool. Post-game show, Tom and Gene have you covered just as they did a year ago. Of course, game stories, practice write-ups, all of it for $1. Warchant.com. Get signed up today. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. And look, he's not just going to be explaining Dominic Robinson what Florida State is attempting to do. He's going to be explaining and breaking down what they're successfully doing. That's the thing that we're hoping to hear more of. Well, look, guys, this didn't have a chance. We're in 2nd and 14 because they were trying to do this. They can try as much as they want. It's not going to work. Hopefully this year it's more about, well, there's their bread and butter. They've done it again. Look at this. It's just amazing to see the rhythm that this team comes out with. It's just, look at that. They got him off balance again. Here's probably what they're going to do pre-snap. I hope for those types of conversations in the in-game.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Tom, if you tell me that Dominic Robinson at any point is going to have seen a level of sustained success that leads him to say during the broadcast, it's just amazing what they're able to do every week. Well, buddy, I'd say let's celebrate right now because we're cruising to the Atlantic Division title. To give that kind of praise, it's just amazing what they're able to do every week is truly a kiss of great fortune because I don't know that we've ever said that in a positive way. Perhaps a tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic slight has been uttered. Oh, it's just amazing that this happens every week. It isn't the same sort of thing that you're talking about. Yeah, that would be outstanding. I'd be very, very excited about that.
Look, I'll put it this way. A better chance. Give me one of the two scenarios that has a better chance. Florida State wins 2 games. Florida State wins the ACC Atlantic.
Florida State wins the ACC Atlantic.
There you go. You just said Florida State wins the ACC Atlantic. You put it in pen. There we go. We've done it.
Hey, I want to say I didn't comment on this. I forgot to do so yesterday, and I meant to do so. This has very little to do with practice yesterday. We know they had a good one yesterday. Defense bounced back really well, got after it, and the offense had dominated the day before, and Jordan Travis was lighting them up. And so I think the defense felt challenged, and they got after it. And this is what you should have in a camp, right? As things round into form, you should have a little bit of balance where the offense plays well, defense plays well and responds. They challenge each other, both physically, but also they're getting after each other in terms of the mental aspect of the game. They're jawing. They're competing. They're competing at a high level. That's what you want. But lost in all that was the interview from the day before with Julian Armella. And I meant to, and if you haven't seen it, go to warchant.com. We've got it there on the website. You can see it on Warchant TV. How impressed were you with Julian Armella's interview? That kid is polished, man. That is, and I'm not just talking about like, oh, someday he's got a chance to be a broadcaster. I mean, the way he thinks about football, the way he thinks about challenging himself, the way he thinks about getting better, the way he thinks about what he's being asked to do and how to arrive at the chosen goal, and what he takes away from those reps in which he gets destroyed, and how he bounces back. Like his commentary on the way he views getting better as a football player. You know, when we got him, when they signed him, we were excited because obviously, he's an offensive lineman, and anytime you're signing a big-time offensive lineman around these parts, it's reason to celebrate. It's really reason to celebrate anywhere. But when you're as starved as we've been for good offensive line play, it gets a little extra what for when we sign one. So everybody was pumped up about him. But then that's the first I've really ever heard him talk football. That's a football mind. He gets it. Now, he's got the body to end up putting on the great kind of weight on an already gigantic frame. He's already big enough that if he had to play, I don't think it would be the end of the world. I think he will get some playing time this year. Now, you don't want to have to thrust him in to the lineup as a starter. That would speak to some desperation and to some poor injury luck, so you don't want that. But I'm just saying, he is a guy that is the rare kind of guy that is getting better every day as a true freshman at that position, and has the body type and the footwork and the bend and the length and to some degree the requisite size already to make a difference. He wouldn't just be filling in. Now, he'd be a guy that would, like any other freshman offensive lineman, would struggle against a veteran presence, a veteran defensive line, like, say, NC State or Clemson, which has a really good defensive line this year yet again. I wouldn't want to see a freshman lineman, no matter how talented Julian Armella may be, against those groups. Hopefully we don't have to. But to hear the way he prepares and thinks about football is reason to celebrate all over again. Because go back and listen to that interview. Some of it is rhetoric. Some of it is coach speak. But a lot of it is clearly the way he thinks about, I think, breaking down every rep and every practice in an effort to get better. Man, those are those driven guys that think, eat, breathe, sleep, drink football. That's him.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack with him as a prospect. I mean, obviously he already has the size and it's all natural. Like, that's the thing is, you know, there are some dudes you look like when they come out to practice, you say, boy, that looks like they're going to have to work really hard for everything that they can put on them. And then there are other dudes that just naturally the weight will fill into. For example, Fabian Lovett is well over 300 pounds. Walking up to you, you wouldn't necessarily assume that because he carries it really well. You'd say maybe 280, 285. Some people just have that frame, and Armella does have the frame. On the positive side, I'd say when we asked multiple defensive linemen, veteran defensive linemen, starting defensive linemen, like Jared Verse and Fabian Lovett, about the offensive line, not about Julian Armella specifically, but about the offensive line, Julian's name was the first one that came up. Now, that's interesting to me because players on the other side of the football aren't about to heap praise or hype up a rookie, or in this case, a freshman, if they don't think they can play. There are a lot of times where you hear a question about a backup quarterback or a freshman receiver or something, and you could see other players on the team roll their eyes as they're getting the question, like, oh, we're going to hear about this guy again? He can't even play. He's not even good enough. You know, teammates are not going to heap praise on another teammate if they don't think that they're good. To hear Fabian Lovett give Julian Armella immediate praise in fall camp, because he wasn't here in spring, and to hear Jared Verse do the same for Julian Armella gives me a lot of hope, because those guys know what the hell they're looking at and going against every single day. On the other side, I'd say if he is going to get playing time this year, I hope it's 4 or fewer games because he ain't ready. He's not ready. I took some heat on the boards a couple of weeks ago when I said he had a textbook rep and then he looked really raw. And somebody said, how can you be both? Well, the answer is you're a freshman. If you're a freshman, you can do that. You can have reps in a practice where you look like, 100% the part of a blue chipper and somebody who's going to be a multi-year starter. But then at a level where you're not the best athlete on the field, if your technique is not right, you're going to end up on your ass. And that's my fear for Julian is if he plays too much this year, if he's pressed into a desperate position, he's going to be made to look like a fool several times while also being a player that gives you good reps and you say, that's why he's here on campus. I don't think he's ready just yet technique-wise for what's to come at the Power 5 level.
Yeah, but he's smart and focused and hardworking. He works his ass off and he expects to play. That's all stuff I want out of a kid who arrives on campus with high expectations. I want a kid who's confident, who believes in his abilities, who works really hard to improve those skill sets. A kid who gets that he's going to have good days and bad days and doesn't let the bad get to him, just like he doesn't, wallow in the good. He understands that there's always room for improvement. So I want that. I think whenever we bring in a high-profile recruit of any kind, I'm always looking very closely to see how quickly can they realize those expectations? How quickly can they get to where we expect them to be based on those star rankings? Fair or unfair, that's the bottom line. If you're a 5-star kid or a 4-star kid, you're expected to be a good football player sooner rather than later, and you're expected to be a kid who kind of exudes the confidence that comes with a dominating high school career. If I don't see that, it's a little bit like in life. If you've got a guy who did really, really well in college, really, really well in high school, gave speeches, was part of student government, presented himself well, and then he comes into a company and he can't get a word out edgewise and he's nervous all the time, you're like, wait a minute. Did we bring in the right guy here? Was this guy a fraud? It makes you nervous, right? Because you don't expect that based on the resume. You don't expect it, right? So sometimes you do. You get a kid who makes the jump. They come into the big time. They leave the comfy confines of their high school where they were the physically most imposing player, and they dominated the competition because of it. And then they get here, and everybody's big, and everybody's strong, and everybody's confident, and everybody's an alpha. And then all of a sudden, they become meekish. They become a little small. And you go, oh, no, this is going to take 2 full years at least, maybe 3. Other times guys step in and you're like, oh, no, he's got a little something to him. He's got a little what for it to him. Like Zaire Thomas wasn't scared. Day one, wasn't scared. Well, the only way you can be that is if you truly believe you belong there. And he believes he belongs there. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and look, he's getting time with the ones, or he did in the last week, and Mike said that on the record, so that's not giving away any state secrets. And that's good experience in practice. If you fail against your teammates in practice, it's one thing. If you fail in a miserable way in front of 65,000, that maybe could lead to some confidence issues. I would protect the asset here because he doesn't even have his strength yet at the level that he's going to. If you can preserve the shirt, because everybody is okay and hunky-dory in terms of health-wise the rest of the season, I just don't think he's ready for the rigors of it just yet. It's easier to play a skill position than offensive line. But the good news is we haven't had anybody that's worth debating about until maybe this year, because he's not the only one. I think if there was a rash of injuries, I know I might be the only one that believes it, but I think Kaniah Charlton wouldn't be terrible if he had to play right now. I'm not saying he should. I'm saying if it's an emergency situation, 2 freshman offensive linemen, I don't think it would be the end of the world if they were on the line. I would just hope that we can preserve them for another year, because you allow those guys, along with the other 3 that are in here, 1 more year of seasoning in this strength and conditioning system. The future of the offensive line looks really bright, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
100%. It's the first time in a long time that I've been excited about where they're going to be. Not where they're currently at. I think they're an average offensive line at best this year, but where they're going to be. I agree with that, and I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I am not suggesting that Julian Armella start for this football team. In fact, if he does, we're in trouble, because that means something terrible has happened. He ought not be out there. I agree. It's his potential is sky high. His work ethic seems to be intact, and his mindset is what I'm looking for. I like it. I like everything about it, and I'm excited about it. That's all I'm conveying, is that we got us one there. We got us one right there. There's a reason to be excited. You're right about Charlton, too. I wouldn't want him to play this year at all. No. He's got some deficiencies in his game and a long ways to go, but he's got enough things that you get excited about. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and if you compare him to, say, a Sapp or a Woody or a Daughtry Richardson, like, that's a hell to the gnaw. But with Charlton, you'd be like, oh, he might be okay in a pinch if we need him for, a quarter or something like that.
Sapp, by the way, of that bunch is going to be a beast. I'm just nobody's built like that. Nobody's built like that. That kid, he's not at all ready, not even close. Oh, my God, no. Not trying to give you that impression. But, folks, as we analyze that group and how important it is, they got some dudes. They've got some dudes finally. Yeah, they're in the pipeline, but they're coming. They're coming. And man, when I look at him, and he occasionally has a rep, Sapp does, where you go, okay. Then he has another one where you go, okay. But truthfully, that body type, like, you're not, when he gets man strong, and he understands how to play, you're not moving that kid.
The guy who makes him look foolish most often is Tafasi so far. And I'm like, man, those two guys going head
to go to war
for 3 years at minimum, that's going to be fun. Yeah.
Think about how nasty those battles are going to be, and we get to watch them. Yeah. It's going to be hilarious to watch that. I mean, they're going to end up in fights. First of all, they'll be sick of each other. Secondly, they will both won enough of those battles that the other won't forget it. And you're like, oh, you son of a bitch, got me. It's like it's a glorious thing. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick, professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
Sellers Tile does it better for business owners, contractors, designers, and homeowners. Better design ideas, better quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring, better mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions. And Sellers makes it easier with their amazing showroom and first-class professionals. Maybe it's time to get Sellers working for you on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com for better style, quality, and design. Go with Sellers in Tallahassee. Call 656-8453.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com. I think I figured something out, Tom, that is probably good for us to think about from time to time, at least those of us here in Tallahassee. I think the perspective, you probably get more of this than I do, oddly, just because you haven't been out of school as long. It's been a minute, but you haven't been out of school nearly as long as I've been.
We're going on 15 years soon, man.
Yeah. But, like you still touch base with your class or the guys that you are, were from in Tampa, St. Pete that went to school and then now have moved back to, say, those areas.
Yeah.
I've got very few people that, there are a couple of real close friends or whatever that live down there that I check in with to get a Florida State sports perspective. Just to hear from every now and then. I got one in Miami, one in Tampa, a couple in St. Pete, and then the rest are scattered throughout the country. I guess the point I'm going to make is this. I think that the view that Florida State fans have that either are in school right now or just out of school, coupled with Florida State fans that say got a job here in Tallahassee and stayed in the community, the view of what Florida State should be, needs to be, has to be this season is different than I think the fan that is not consumed by it, either because they're here or they're fresh out of school. So, like, when I talk to people that live, that work outside the state, they graduated from Florida State, say in 93, 94. When I talk to people like that, I got a friend in Atlanta that I talked to last night that was kind of led to this. It's like the third person I've talked to in the last year, in the last really 6 months, that when they say, hey, what do you think Florida State could do this year? What do you think the record will be? Or what are your thoughts on where we're at? And they usually preface it, because these are people I've known a long time. They usually sort of preface it with, look, man, I know this is what you do for a living. You don't have to talk sports with me. Usually we're asking about each other's kids and each other's wives and vacation plans and all that kind of stuff. But just real quick, what are your thoughts? I know the season's coming up. I know you're out at practice. What are your thoughts? If I say to them, Tom, that I think they're capable of going 8-4, if they get all the right bounces and stay healthy, maybe 9-3. And admittedly, I don't think they're going to go 9-3. I'm not that high on them. The voice on the other end is like, what? Really? Gosh, I was just hoping you'd say we'd go 6-6. Like, you think they can win 8 games? And I go, yeah, I think they can win 8 games. They're like, okay. Wow, that's news to me. I'm excited. I was just hoping you'd say we'd finish 500 or maybe get to 7 wins, but gosh, they must have made a lot of improvement. That's their response. Like, those people who are kind of taking a cursory glance at football every now and then, or they'll, surface level reads here and there while they're in the grocery store or something. Like, those people don't think Florida State has a chance to be any good at all. Like, I think enough sucking has occurred for a long enough period of time that they just assume, oh, well, we're years away from being any good at all.
Yeah, and they're right to do that because they have lives that don't center around Florida State and Tallahassee. And look, a lot of those people, especially in my friend group, they like other sports teams. They like other franchises. And guess what happens when you lose? It's only natural. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't make you less of a fan. If you're a Bucks fan and a Noles fan and you live in Tampa, like many of my friends are, guess what? Your Sundays have counted for a lot more than your Saturdays over the last few years because you don't have a lot of good Sundays in the last 20 seasons as a Buccaneers fan. You probably got about 5 years worth of them, and a lot of them have happened recently. Or if you are, I don't know, a Yankees fan or a Braves fan, that's a better one. Braves fan in the southeast part of this country, a lot of Nole fans are. Guess what? In October last year, they were paying more attention to the Braves than they were Florida State football. And they should be. They just won the World Series. It's only natural for FSU fans and grads that have moved to professional cities and like those professional teams to have Florida State fall down the pecking order. Our hope is, and our contention is with what we've seen using the logic of what's happened around here, being here day to day and seeing in practices, the Noles are going to capture that attention a little bit more for these people who have strayed. And it might surprise them. You're right. People don't check in with practice reports necessarily the way they would if they thought we were going to win 10 games or 11 games this year. But if we win 8, you're going to get a lot of them back for next year, which is really good for the university on multiple fronts, season ticket fronts, and for that random collective that has nothing to do with Florida State at all for NIL purposes. They're also going to see some benefits from that as well.
The other part of
happen though.
Yeah, the other part of that is that if you live here, you need them to be better. So you're going to project that optimism onto the program. You're going to project that what you want to happen. Now, I'm not saying you and I do that. I think we're being as objective as possible. I see this team as being better. I say it all the time. I think they are objectively better, but I don't think they're great. I think they're okay. I think they're just okay. And okay can get you to 8-4 in the ACC. Okay can get you there. So that's kind of what I think they are. But it's fascinating to me because we know a ton of business owners. And, obviously, shout out to all of those that have worked with us over the years and been good to us. And we appreciate your partnership. And some of them are restaurants. Some of them are just other, walk of life. But yeah. I appreciate them, but I also understand where that comes from. Like, we would all be doing better. Warchant would be doing better. The Jeff Cameron Show specifically would be doing better. These businesses, all of them, would be doing better. The energy in the city would be better if this team stops sucking. If we could just have a reason to collectively celebrate a Saturday more than 4 or 5 times a year. So that, we want it to happen and we need it to happen. Whereas others, if you're in a big city, there's a lot to do all the time. The further removed you are from the university on a day-to-day basis, and the longer you're removed from the university on a day-to-day basis, the more apt you are to find other things, as you're pointing out, that will enrapture you or certainly take up your time. And I get that those people, they're just checking in. They're just checking in. And they're like, hey, man, how you doing? Hope the family's well. I know you covered Florida State. You're my boy. So, are we going to suck worse than, last year, or are we going to be slightly better? And it strikes us, by the way, those of us here, whether you're in the media or not, like, I think it strikes you as odd when you hear the question. Like, I had a friend ask me if he thought we were going to be worse this year. Yeah. Straight face, just like, are they going to be even worse this year now that we don't have Jermaine Johnson? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of understand where that's coming from. They're like, yeah, I mean, we're not any good. I know that, but are we worse? I'm like, wow, that is an interesting perspective. Like, that guy's just driving around Miami, going to work, diehard Nole, loves his Noles, wearing a Florida State shirt, all of it, just on his way to work, thinking that there's a good chance we're going to be worse than last year.
Well, they've got, again, good reason if they're a casual fan, because they don't like being hurt. For you Noles out there that are lucky enough to have a 401k or investments, maybe the last few months you didn't check them as much because you didn't want to be hurt with what you saw. It just doesn't do you any good. So, that's the fun part of the climb. That's why, and I didn't mean to use his term. I'm not that kind of a.
It's okay.
Still, But that's the pursuit of a title. That's why that's the more fun thing than the maintenance of the title or the repeat, because there's a newness to it. Every time there's a newness to it. And for me, it was extremely novel being a citizen of the lost decade. We're going to have to name this one something worse than lost for these poor saps of undergraduate students and graduate students. But when we were winning in 10, that season's one of my favorite years. They ended up only winning their 10th game in the bowl against South Carolina, but that team competed like none of its peers in the last or the previous 4 seasons. So it was new and it was enjoyable. 11 was a bit of a downward turn. 12, you had expectations again, but they were shattered by a BS game up at NC State and then the 5 turnovers against Florida, but you were in the conversation. So in the end, it still felt like, all right, I'm glad we're in the ring again. And then 13 was magical. So that's the thing. The pursuit of it gets real fun, but there has to be an element of surprise to the fan base and newness to it as you begin that pursuit. The hope is, look, we haven't taken the first step yet. We're hoping the first step is this upcoming season.
Quote unquote from my friend yesterday, they just have to be better.
Yeah,
that's what he said to me. That's what he said to me. Because they don't have to be good, Jeff. They just have to be better. I mean, they haven't been better in a long time. They've just been a different version of suck every year. Yeah. And it's fascinating to hear that.
No, I think that's a gross oversimplification now, but that is somebody who doesn't want to be hurt. They've been better every single camp under Mike, I think. We've gotten into most of them. COVID prohibited us early on, and 2020 was a tough season no matter what program you're talking about. Just look at the outlier numbers from that year. But if you go from last fall camp to this spring camp to the current fall camp that we're in, they're better every single time. And it's not just about players. It's about the culture being in a place where you don't have to stop practice for basic stuff. So it's to what extent in the record book will they be better? But they're already better. So that goal is achieved if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, but what I would say, and I get why the person says this, because you and I watching a random Wednesday practice and it being a better Wednesday practice than the group that preceded it by a year is a very different guidepost than somebody who watches football on Saturdays. So watching on Saturdays, you could argue when you watched the first 4 games last year, Florida State wasn't any better. They just sucked. They were embarrassing. And you would have said to yourself, how's this possible? We're not any better. We're not any better.
And then they were competitive for the final 8 games, winning 5 of them, and they could have been in a position to win more. Well,
but that's my point. Like, they went into the season assuming we would be better, and those 4 games said resoundingly, you're not.
So they tuned out after the 4 games? I guess maybe they did. You know what? If we're 0-4, maybe if I'm living in a different market.
Right. Yeah. Of course they did.
But if you stuck around for the next 8, you would have seen something kind of crazy, because most teams in this day and age would have quit after that. And after what they've been failed by before Mike Norvell got here, they would have said, oh, this guy's full of it too. This guy's full of it too. It was Jimbo mailed it in. Willie never got to the mailbox in the first place. And this guy sucks too. But they stuck with it, and they were competitive for their last 8 games in a way that we have not seen with consistency here in a long time. Now, I know that I'm talking to you, the converted, or the person who saw it just like I did.
Yeah.
But that's where they're going to be better. I have a hard time watching what I've seen in spring and fall, not knowing. I feel very good about this, short of a rash of ridiculous injuries, and that's Mike Norvell's luck, that they can't not be better. I mean, look at what they're doing every day in practice. They're going to be better. It's just a matter of does the record book reflect it?
Well, and that's my retort, is what I say to them. I think it's fascinating that it is an interesting perspective that people, the further removed from the program they are, either by distance or time, or both, have very nominal expectations, which good for them, I suppose, because they'll be the most wowed. You and I will not be. You and I are not going to be shocked. And the people here who listen to this show every day will be less taken aback by their successes, because they've heard, they've been prepped, they've been told, hey, look, they're better, guys. They're a lot better. Are they a great team? No. And by FSU standards, by the standards of greatness that this program was based on for 40 years, they're not anywhere close. But are they much better than they were last year? Oh, yes, most assuredly. And we know that. Now, again, you get into the debate about every single season is in and of itself, and if you have certain types of injuries, or, look at it this way. whenever you think about league play, I always like to consider that one of the teams that we think is really good right now, or is projected to be really good, is going to play below expectations. They're going to have a sub. You correctly guessed last year that it would be North Carolina. Mm-hmm. The expectations for North Carolina last year were exceedingly high because of a blip on the radar that they were able to get when Mac Brown took over. There was one little moment in time where they looked like a real good team, right? So then all of a sudden, the expectations went from, well, they're okay, to, Carolina could win 11 games, could cruise to win the Coastal title, and maybe even be a competitor for the ACC title. And then we saw North Carolina, and we went, nope, you're not better. If anything, you've taken a step back. And they lost at home to us convincingly, etc. People realized they were the disappointment of the ACC last year. And then conversely, there's always a team that everybody thinks is going to be average at best, where you look at them and you go, that's not a great team. There's no real reason to project them anywhere close to 10 wins. They won't be very good. And the next thing you know, you look up and you're like, well, that game's a lot more difficult than we realized. They found something. Their quarterback took another big step. Kenny Pickett did not go into last year as a touted soon-to-be first-round pick. Nobody thought that of Kenny Pickett. Nobody. And if you go back and look at the preseason write-ups on Pitt last year, they thought that they would be a decent team, but nobody thought that offense would look that way and that kid would – everybody knew the receiver, but they really didn't talk too much about Pickett being a star. And then he became a star. And they threw the ball. They ran counter to their reputation. They threw the ball over the lot. And nobody really kind of expected that to be the case for them. Wake Forest was a lot better than people thought they would be. This happens every year. So trying to guess which of those teams is going to be that is a fun exercise. What happens with diehard Florida State fans who've been hurt over the last 5 years is they never project that team to be this team.
Right.
They never predict that the team that's going to be a lot better than anybody thinks is their own. They always think it's somebody else in the ranks. And really what they think is it's likely somebody who's on our schedule that we're assuming is going to suck, that will be a lot better because, of course, they will be. That's just our luck.
Yeah, and they've been right for a long time. But look, it's funny. I get put in the position, and you do too, in that situation when somebody doesn't expect us to be better and we think that we are. It sounds like you're pounding your chest over 8 wins. And I'm not trying to pound my chest over Florida State winning 8 games because that's not what we're about here. And as long as I'm covering Florida State, that's never going to be what we're about. But it's what we have in front of us. You can't get to where you want to go without a season where you do win a mediocre amount of games and a below average amount of games by FSU standards. You got to walk before you can run, man. And this is the season to walk. And hopefully we do so upright, one foot in front of the other. We've got good balance about us. We're not shaky in the alley. Nobody can push us over. That's what this year's about. I'd rather it be about winning the Atlantic and competing for a college football playoff, but it's not. So I understand and I hear myself. I'm not pounding my chest and saying, wait, do you see this team? They're going to win 8 dadgum football games. No, it's just I think they're going to be better to the tune of, as long as injury luck and turnover luck isn't crazy bad, I think 8's that middle number. I believe that since the spring. I believe it now, and we'll see what happens as long as, things bounce the Noles way. An even amount, that's where they're going to be.
Gaining strength, being balanced. Orange Theory Fitness, my friends, will help you do both. 2 locations in town, Orange Theory Fitness. It's interval training. They use interval training at the highest levels, by the way, of peak athleticism. Programs around the country do this. You check your heart rate. You go from a baseline to a push pace to an all-out, back down again. And through it all, you gain, obviously, stamina, but you gain, more importantly, more life throughout your day. It's an exercise rooted in science, which is important, especially in an era where people like to dismiss science rather buffoonishly. So you're getting a real workout done by some of the best athletes in the world, and you're done with that workout feeling better about yourself than when you began it. It's important to do that. It's important to gain that strength. It's important to know what you're doing works. Orange Theory Fitness, 2 locations in town, 1 midtown and 1 here on the north side of Tallahassee where I reside. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Over 50 years ago, when Paul Nicholson founded Paul's Termite and Pest Control, he had one goal in mind: provide the best service possible to his neighbors so they felt like family. Your problem was his problem, so today it's our problem. Paul's service area is our home. It's where our kids go to school, where we shop, and where we get involved with community organizations. So if some out-of-town company knocks on your door and begins pressuring you to sign an agreement for termite or pest control, you can bet on a few things. Number one, you'll never see that person again. Number two, your technician is likely to change often. And number three, your money will not stay in North Florida. These companies are sending your money to home offices in Atlanta, Orlando, Salt Lake City, or even Great Britain. Paul's Termite and Pest Control knows local means something to you. The health of your Tallahassee home, family, and pets is our number one priority. For the elimination of termites and pests and a greener lawn too, call your local company with local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
Hi, this is Dr. Marianne Arbalou, candidate for the Leon County School Board District 1. Did you know that our schools are experiencing academic and financial declines? Evidence that we need a leadership change. With my credentials, skills, and diverse work experience, I will strive to improve the use of your tax dollars. We've had enough tax increases. I will work to increase experiential learning opportunities. We know that students learn better by doing. And we should create more entrepreneurial programs where students learn about business and don't simply get jobs, but become job creators. I will be transparent and accountable. Your voice matters, and I want to rebuild trust. And I'll advocate for better salary and career initiatives for all staff, focusing on more support for our teachers. My name is Marianne Arbalou, and I'm asking for your vote on August 23rd for Leon County School Board District 1. Thank you.
Paid for and approved by Marianne Arbalou for Leon County School Board District 1.
Well. Hey, Jeff, look at this place.
Yeah. Well, doing well. It's been a while since I've seen you, brother, but, it hasn't been a while since I've been over to Gordo's. I go there on the regular because of you, Eddie.
Well, we keep you regular.
Well, that's true, but I think of Gordo's as a place to sit down, have a cold beer, talk to your friends, enjoy the sports, eat the delicious food. But I think of you as Uncle Eddie, a man who takes care of his people and takes care of the town.
I appreciate that, Jeff. Hey, and we'll keep you regular.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady will be away from the team for a period of time to, quote, deal with some personal things. That, according to Coach Bowles, still weird for me to say, yesterday. Bowles said Brady's absence was discussed in advance and that he will return after next week's preseason game against the Titans. Tom, that game is on the 20th of August. Today is the 12th. He missed yesterday, which was the 11th. Quote, this is something we talked about before training camp. We allotted this time because he wanted to get in and get chemistry with the guys, go through 2 weeks of training camp, knowing he wasn't going to play the first two games. He didn't want to take away reps from Blaine Gabbert and Kyle Trask, as well as Griff, that's Ryan Griffin, going into the next two games, knowing it's something he needs to handle. When asked if the issue was health-related, Bowles said, it's a personal issue. That's all I can tell you. Man, I don't want to be overly pessimistic and draw too much from this. But, buddy, I'm not buying this. This ain't good. There's nothing good about a guy, a red ass like Tom Brady, who believes every second of every day should be spent doing something that makes you better.
Yeah.
To the point of absurdity. Alkalinity, whatever chamber he's sleeping in now, his own personal workouts that he sells, whatever it might be, the kind of time he's talking about that he spends with teammates and new teammates at that, he's got a new receiver to work in. There's a lot going on with the offensive line, 2 new receivers to work in, right? What? I mean, look, again, people have a personal life, and I don't know what's at play here, and I'm certainly not trying to ignore whatever it's going on in his personal life if, in fact, it's serious, just because he needs to get simpatico with Julio Jones and Russell Gage and Kyle Rudolph. But it's just so not Tom Brady. This is almost like I don't know. It's almost like he doesn't have high expectations.
Yeah, I think you can look at this 2 ways. If you want to start with the pessimistic way, because this is all we're left to do is speculate. The pessimistic way is maybe I shouldn't have come back. Point blank. Maybe I shouldn't have come back. Maybe I need to take some time and think about, am I really going to be dedicated for this season? And maybe after 10 days, you get news that he's like, all right, sorry, I'm a reedy when it comes to committing. And now I'm uncommitted again, and I'm going to walk away. That's the pessimist view. I don't like categorizing this as the optimist view because it's not a good scenario. It's not a positive thing. But remember a couple of years ago, I'm just trying to find logical reasons here. A couple of years ago, his dad almost died of COVID, right? And so they were finally able to come out to a game. They were at the Super Bowl. I think they made it all the way down for that game. But they were at least one regular season game too. If my parents were in failing health and it was happening during football season, maybe I do say before camp starts, look, I got to spend some time. I'm sorry. I know this is the wrong period on the football calendar for this to happen, but I'm going to come in. I'm going to give you 10 days of all I got, and then I got to go away for a little bit because once we get into the season, I can't leave, and I won't leave, but I've got to do what I got to do. So I know that I'm painting a very positive PR picture for Tom Brady, but I mean, that would be legitimate. That would be a reason we'd be like, oh, okay, you got to go tend to a family member who's not at 100%. Because Todd Bowles keeps coming back to personal reasons, it could be just something as simple as that, where you want to be around somebody before you got to go on lockdown for 4 months. So we'll wait and see. But if he retires, that's equally plausible to me too. It could, or something along the lines of, man, he didn't know if he really wanted to commit to play. He got back to training camp and he said, oops. It could be that too. Who the hell knows?
I think it's a mixture of a couple things here. First of all, let me round out here what we're talking about and then comment on what you just said. When asked if he was worried about Brady's personal issue impacting his commitment to the team, Coach Bowles said, per our conversation, I'm not worried. No, not worried at all.
He has to say that, though.
Well, of course he does, but he wouldn't say it if Tom's telling him he's seriously thinking about retiring again. So what I think is that Tom's not going to retire. I actually think there's no way Tom retires. Tom will see this through. My concern from a fan standpoint is just that he'll see it through, but how committed is he? How good are they going to be if he's half-assing this thing because he's come back and he's distracted and he doesn't really want to be back? But now he knows. You talk about leaving somebody high and dry. He would not do that. He is a professional. I don't think at this juncture, the season's starting, you cannot just decide, hey, I'm walking away. The time for that was when you did it before, or it would have been prior to camp beginning, certainly. The Bucs are screwed if he walks away. I don't think he's going to do that. But I think you hit on a good point because I think it has to be family related. To me, it has to be something along those lines where perhaps time is indeed of the essence, where it could be running out. I hope not. I hope everything's okay. But I just find it fascinating because the Tom Brady that was driven to win as many championships as possible to ensure that he finishes as the greatest player at that position to ever play the game. That guy, I feel like, I don't know Tom Brady from Adam, but we've had a long time to view this man's behavior from a distance and analyze it and parse it and figure out what it's all about. And boy, have we. Well, that guy's dad could be on death's door and he wouldn't miss 11 straight days of training camp. Not that one. Not the guy that was thinking of where he was going. Now, time changes a lot of things. Your perspective is one of them. And I would like to think that the 46-year-old Tom Brady has a different perspective on life, professionalism, fatherhood, being a teammate, whatever you want to look at, than the 26-year-old version of Tom Brady would, or the 30-year-old version of Tom Brady would even. And so I'm glad that perhaps he's prioritizing things in a more healthy manner, if in fact that's what's happening. But just from a Bucs fan standpoint, I don't think any of it adds up to the good.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's fundamentally not good for football reasons if you're not around your teammates during training camp when these bonds are forged. And it's not like they're returning all 11 starters, including Brady. The other 10 are the same. So because it's not, that's all the more critical. But I just, it could be a position in a week where I say, oh, man, he's not committed, or 10 days from now, whatever it is. And you're like, oh, no. Okay, so we'll see how much we can get out of 80% Tom Brady. But I'm not willing to go there yet. I'm not willing to assume that this is based on him being wishy-washy just yet.
Right.
It could be an extremely legitimate reason. And you know me, if there's a reason to call out Tom Brady, I will, because, those Spaceman bed sheets that he's selling for like $200, it's ridiculous, the things he does. It's crazy. A lot of it, you're like, man, get out. You don't believe half the nonsense you're saying. But in this instance, I'm going to reserve judgment just in case.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think my thoughts on this situation are a judgment of Tom Brady, but rather a concern, selfishly, as a diehard Bucs fan, that we're not getting the most out of Tom Brady, Tom. That's what this really is. Selfish on my part. We're not getting the most out of our investment, damn it. It's the Jeff Cameron Show. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Stay with 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Whitten Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whitten's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whitten Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at whittenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
So let's say you're considering buying a new home in the current climate. We've all heard that demand is high, inventory is low. So how do you get a leg up on the rest of the buyers all making offers on the same house as you? Oh, that's a toughie. But the first place I'd suggest you start is with a call to my friend Shannon at Legendary Home Loans. Shannon will set you up with a complete pre-approval underwriting. This used to be an upgrade, but nowadays it's got to be standard. You want to get your offer on a new home pushed to the front of the line, you need a TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans. You'll shorten or even remove your financing contingency, and the sellers will know that your offer is real and ready to go. It's tough out there these days, folks, so why not have the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle? Get pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon with the one and only Legendary Home Loans. Call now, 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
If you buy too much, you waste money. If you come up short, you waste time. And if you don't have the right metal, you waste time and money. You got to spend wisely. MetalSupermarkets.com is your online source for metal with the deepest metal inventory. Just enter your dimensions and we'll cut the metal to your exact spec and deliver it to your home, business, or job site. MetalSupermarkets.com. Any metal cut to size and ready fast is just a few clicks away. MetalSupermarkets.com.
We heard you have a thing for shopping, but what if you didn't have to do it alone? Here at Stitch Fix, we pair you with a stylist so you can discover fresh looks your closet can't live without. We learn your taste, size, and price range and deliver outfits you'll wear again and again. Whether you like modern blazers or boho dresses, we make your thing our thing. Stitch Fix. Get $20 off your first purchase at stitchfix.com/radio. Limited time offer. You must purchase within 2 days of signing up.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
There was something that Adam Fuller said yesterday in his press conference, Ira, that it kind of struck me because it's almost like an omission. You're telling us something, but you're omitting something. And the comment was, it was speaking about how players are willing to be coached on the defensive side of the ball. And I think he was just coming off of a comment about Akeem Dent's 2 interceptions in the scrimmage. But he said, the players are willing to be coached right now. And to me, what I've seen so far, and I've been looking at the trenches a lot, that defense is starting to develop a snarl to it, like a real snarl. They've got guys who are willing to talk a little bit after the play is over. On the defensive line, Jared Verse is not afraid. McClendon's not afraid. I noticed there was an interior defensive lineman this week after a 3-and-out for the offense. He waved goodbye to the offense as they ran off the field. There's a little bit of swagger building for this defense, and it probably is coming through the confidence and continuity of coaching and philosophy. But, we've struggled for so long to identify what is Florida State's defense because it was just bad at a lot of things. But it seems like they're starting to develop a personality to them, and it's not a nice one to play against, which should excite Florida State fans.
Yeah, and again, I think, defensive football, and we've talked about this a lot over the last few years, especially when the team has not been playing well. So much of defensive football is trust, and trust in the coaching staff, to the point you just made, to believe if I do my job, if I do what I'm asked to do, and Adam Fuller said it, I think, a couple times during that press conference with referring to Akeem Dent, he's doing what we're asking him to do. And surprisingly enough, that's resulting in good results because it has to be 11 parts working together. Offense, you can sometimes have big plays when just 1 or 2 guys make a big play. But defense, it has to be all 11 guys doing their job and trusting each other. And sometimes it's not, Mike Norvell made that comment a few times last season where he made the comment with the best of intentions, like when they lost at Wake Forest or when they lost a couple of games last season. We're making mistakes with the best of intentions. What he means is guys are trying too hard to make a play that's not their play to make. They're not trusting the guy next to them. They're not trusting the guy behind them. I think what you're seeing in practice now is year 3 in the system. They had some success last season, and you got some mature guys. You brought in some guys who are winners, from other programs that have the right mindset. And I think you're seeing guys play as a unit, 11 guys working together. And I think it's a big difference, man. Sometimes you see defenses in college football that aren't all first-round picks, but play really well and play hard together, and they have success. That's where I think they're getting closer to. It's what it looks like to me.
Right here in our hometown is a local spot where you can take a break from all your worries. A place where everybody knows his name is Smitty's Tap House and Grill. Smitty's deep appreciation for fine craft beers and tasty bar treats sets the stage as the ideal local neighborhood pub. Want to know more? Just visit Smitty'sTapHouse.com to check out the full menu. Come see us at Smitty's Tap House and Grill on Thomasville Road, just north of Cary Forest Parkway. You'll be glad you came, where everybody knows his name.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com. Number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, Libations Friday, loosey-goosey edition of the program. Good to have you on board. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeff. Tom is at his house. I'm at my house. Matthew's at his house. We're all chilling at the house. Sorry, but we're doing a radio show because, well, it's Libations Friday during camp. Can't miss a radio show. It's not live. It's close to live. It's not quite. It's just before 1 that we did this, not at 1. We had to for business reasons. Sorry about that, but we did want to make sure we got the content out there for you. Also, just a quick update, because obviously we're clear to talk about yesterday's practice. We have some already on the program, but also any updates that come from camp today. Warchant's got you covered as always. Corey and Aslan are there at practice this afternoon. In fact, while you're listening to this, they're there. They'll be giving you their updates and observations, as we always do for practice, on warchant.com, Warchant TV. So you're not going to miss anything that happens today. Just a reminder, we'll keep you posted with all of that. So, let's just hope it's another great day over in Jacksonville for the guys, and they make their way over here to Tallahassee for the scrimmage tomorrow. What do you want to see the scrimmage, Tom? We can't see the scrimmage. It's a different way of saying it. No way for us to watch the scrimmage. What would you like the commentary to be afterwards? Obviously, we hope that we lead with there's nothing to report in the way of negativity, meaning injuries or anything like that. We hope Mike doesn't have to address the media after the scrimmage on Saturday and talk about that. That's a given. Everybody assumes that and hopes that and wishes for that. But as far as the other, meaning what do you want to hear about the quarterbacks, the receivers, the defense, whatever it might be? What are you hoping most to hear from Mike Norvell after tomorrow night's scrimmage?
Yeah, remember after the first scrimmage, not that long ago, but in camp, sometimes a week feels like 10 days. Who was the receiver that we heard the most about? It was Deuce Spann. Because of the long catch and because he was making a difference in multiple facets of the game. Well, I want to hear about Johnny Wilson. I want to hear about Malik McClain. I want to hear about some of the starting receivers having a good day, because what can you infer from that?
Yeah.
If the starting offense, the passing offense had a good day. Right now, for me, it's all about following up Wednesday's performance. I know that Jamie Robinson in Jacksonville yesterday heavily qualified what it is that the offense did to him. He's a prideful person. He should do that. I want to hear, again, that the offense followed up a good performance on Wednesday with another one in the second scrimmage. And it doesn't have to be lights out. It just has to be notable, because then I'm starting to believe that the offense has turned a bit of a corner. Doesn't have to be elite, but maybe it can be very good if the passing offense comes to life. So that's what I want to hear. Hopefully we do after tomorrow's scrimmage is done around 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I would also suggest that you're probably once again going to hear that the defensive line carried the day. It's the best unit on the team, the defensive interior especially. I think they'll be probably the most successful plus unit on the field, most Saturdays too, by the way. So it's not as if we hear that they kind of stuff the running game, especially in between the tackles, that's not a big deal. That doesn't mean our offensive line stinks. That doesn't mean we're not going to be able to run the ball against teams. It just means that Florida State's really good up the gut. And they really are when you think about it, with the 2 defensive tackles, their backups, Tatum Bethune, and then Jamie Robinson and Akeem Dent. There's no reason to think that group up the gut shouldn't be the strength of the team. And that's really important, because then you really are dictating terms and predictability. Everything's going to have to go to the edges, and it's a different story, but at least you can kind of make teams a little bit more one-dimensional, at least in the variety of runs that they can call. And so that won't surprise me if that happens. I have a feeling Fabian Lovett and Coop and those guys are going to have a good night, because I think they know in a lot of ways, the veteran players do, it's kind of the last hurrah. It doesn't mean camp is over, but Tom, when you get beyond the scrimmages and you've been practicing for as long as they have, now you're getting into a little less physicality and a little more technicality. You're going to get into a little bit more of the install and kind of the shuffling of who's getting the reps and why. We're getting more towards, hey, it's almost game week. If you get what I'm saying, you're not going to bust ass the way you have through the first 12, 13, 14 days for the latter part of camp. These guys got to be fresh to play a football season. These guys got to know thoroughly what they're doing. Now, you listen, you're still going to hit. It's still a game where you have to be ready to hit and tackle, so you can't go completely away from that. But I think things get ratcheted down in that aspect a little bit more. So you'll see these guys. This is where it's go time Saturday night. This is where it gets tough.
Yeah, to me, I think what it does is it narrows down the focus for us even too for the next couple of weeks of camp. You know, you come out of scrimmage too. Let's just say that everything is good in terms of everybody's all right. They played, they got out of there, they're healthy. Now you're going to look at the shuffling of personnel when we get there on, I think Tuesday is the first day of practice next week. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, are we seeing a trend of who's getting snaps with the better groups, the first team and the second team? Has there been a change? Is there somebody different in a position that we are not used to seeing? And then after that, it's going to be specific positions in general, like the one corner job that we think we are seeing who is going to start out there, but we're not quite sure. So are there changes there? And then the other specific player I'll be looking at is Darius Washington on the offensive line. He's kind of the swing man of the group. He can play all 5 positions according to the coaching staff, but he needs to get up to speed physically. Excuse me. So does he do that? And if so, where does he slot in? You're getting down to specific questions instead of broad questions over the next couple of weeks. The good thing, too, is you don't start with a big-name opponent like a Notre Dame. You start with a Duquesne. So this process is still fluid a little bit into Duquesne game week. It'll be interesting to see how it all shuffles out, though. I'm getting really excited because the baseline of what I saw in camp for both sides of the football is just overall better. You don't have Jermaine Johnson. You don't have Keir Thomas. But the baseline of what I'm seeing performance-wise is better. The floor has been raised as long as everybody stays healthy, and that's good.
Well, it's a testament to that evaluation and analysis, Tom, because ordinarily, if you tell me you're going to lose a Jermaine Johnson, who was a dominant college football player to the tune of being drafted in the first round, and a very good and perhaps more consistent dominating player in Keir Thomas, if you're losing those two players, the caliber of those two players, the experience of those two players on a team that only won 5 games and hasn't had a good year in 6, if you're losing those guys, you're not normally in a position to say that we think the floor has been raised and that they're potentially going to be better.
Yeah, I think because there are more facets than just pinning your
Correct.
ears on third
Correct.
and long.
It's because there's better balance of talent across the segments.
So, okay, in short, you agree with that then? You agree with that take that it should be better in more different facets?
I think they'll be more consistent. I think they'll be a little bit more sound, consistently so, across the defense. I don't think they'll be as dynamic as they were last year on any obvious passing down. Jermaine Johnson changed games. The Miami game will stand as a testament to his work ethic, toughness, and also talent. But that we don't have a guy that can change a game the way he changed that game with it on the line.
Yeah, correct. The one thing I'd say, though, like if you're just looking for deficiencies for this defense, and this is obvious, it's nothing about watching practice. Year over year, you lose those 2 defensive ends. All right, if I feel good and I'm the opposing offensive coordinator, they're a pretty good secondary. Their linebackers are better. The interior I'm not going to be able to run on with consistency. So what am I going to do? I'm going to isolate those 2 ends and make them prove it to me that they can be responsible if I run right at them or I run games at them, I roll out that way, whatever it is. I want to see how disciplined they are. Well, what I feel really good about is if you do that behind that group, a guy like a Tatum Bethune is there to clean it up. A guy like Jamie Robinson comes back and is able to clean it up. And Kalen DeLoach has had a pretty good camp. I've been very pleased with what I've seen there. I just feel better about if you get exposed a little bit at end in certain facets of the game, what surrounds that player is good enough to help account for deficiencies. Because I think in third and obvious, they've got enough dynamic players and they've got enough things maybe that they could break out to where they'll be able to get some pressure on the quarterback. It's just that you won't be able to necessarily do it where you say, hey, Keir and Jermaine, just go get him. We can even rush 3 sometimes and we'll get home. That's not going to be the case this year. I don't think that's fair to expect.
I do want to point out, just because I think it's in the interest of being fair, they're going to miss Brownlee. They're going to miss him. People roll their eyes at that. I'm not talking about in coverage because he was not elite down the field, but he brought an air of physicality and effort and nastiness to him that I think permeated the defense in the second half of that season. That was a guy that had a whole bunch of get you some. And when he hit, he told you about it. Anything out on the edges, Tom, that kid made plays. He triggered fast. He hit you. You went down. Who's the corner that's doing that this year? I don't know if Duke Cooper does that. Listen, I get that in football. You don't walk into the stadium saying, hey, I hope our corners are really tough and physical and tackle well today. You think about the coverage aspect of their job. That's what you think about. But that's not to discount the importance of their ability to tackle in space and the importance of that physicality that Brownlee brought this team. So I need somebody to emerge in that role. Yes, Akeem Dent can do that from his spot. Yes, we know Jamie Robinson does do it. And yes, Tatum Bethune, a linebacker, and Kalen DeLoach, a linebacker, will do it. I'm just talking about a corner. Do they have a guy that fights off of blocks in the quick game and comes up and sticks you?
Yeah, well, Noles will do that from the slot. But again, you're talking outside. What's interesting is maybe it's Jerrion Jones for a certain set of the game. He's had a good camp. I've got to, look.
Yes.
I've seen so far, I'm wrong about it. Now, if he gets roasted early on in the season because he's out there and it's one-on-one and he gets beat down the field, then it's a little bit of same old. But the engagement level, the physicality, that swagger you're talking about, Shaheem Brown has it. He's not going to play corner for us. No. Jerrion Jones has it, and we know they've been talking about maybe a move to nickel, and that's been on the record as well. But even if he plays outside for some series or against an opponent that you know is going to play quick game, there's a guy who could do it. It's just a matter of, does he have the quicks? Was he so hurt last year that what we saw him getting roasted by was a function of the receiver speed and then also his lack of health? But that remains to be seen. You can only know that in Saturdays.
I'm glad you pointed out Jerrion Jones real quick before we wrap the first segment here. I think he's had probably the camp that is responsible for the most amount of surprise from all of us. I think there are a lot of players that you go like, okay, well, that guy's a little better than I thought he would be. Oh, look at that. Renardo Green's had a good camp. Oh, look at that. No, Jerrion Jones is the one guy we're all like, kind of afraid to say this out loud because maybe I'm looking at it all wrong, fellas. But is it just me or has Jerrion Jones been really good this camp? Because you almost don't trust yourself to say it.
Yeah, well, we all have our picks on the top 40, in the top 40. We're like, I was on him. Jerrion is Ira's because he had it during the offseason. I'm like, get out of here.
Yeah,
now I'm in maybe territory. I'm like, well, maybe. And that's a big step. That's going from no to maybe.
Yeah. It's an exciting step to take. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. Hang on. Hey, fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick, professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
Sellers Tile does it better for business owners, contractors, designers, and homeowners. Better design ideas, better quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring, better mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions. And Sellers makes it easier with their amazing showroom and first-class professionals. Maybe it's time to get Sellers working for you on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com for better style, quality, and design. Go with Sellers in Tallahassee. Call 656-8453.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com. I'm going to be interested to see the numbers. I have no idea what they are, but I think baseball's on to something with the Field of Dreams game. I think it's if you tuned in last night and watched, it's two terrible teams. The Reds and the Cubs are alongside the Pittsburgh Pirates as three of the worst teams in baseball. But in terms of the matchup, obviously it's a historical one, both because of the locale, but because of the two teams. And yet, despite those two teams being substandard and not having a lot that catches your attention, the game being played in that venue was fantastic. And it does capture the mood and the moment and the history of the national pastime, which is baseball. Baseball doesn't do like hockey's done such a good job in the last 10 years, but it's done an especially good job. The outdoor Classic is so fun. I mean, when you watch that, Tom, it never gets old to me when I watch that, when they play Lambeau Field or wherever they are. You know, I always just think, this is cool as hell. And they've been lucky, too, because a lot of times it snowed while they were playing. And there's something cool about watching it snow while they're playing on an ice hockey arena surface. I don't know why I like that, but I just do. It feels old-timey. It's nostalgic. And then that's true, too, of the Field of Dreams game. I think they do a good job with it. I rather enjoyed it. It's calming. I know you watched some last night, too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I don't know that I was going to put it on, but the wife said, hey, what channel is the Field of Dreams game on? I'm like, okay, go for it. And partially the reason I stuck around is there's not a whole lot of 4K programming on my beautiful television, but that game was in 4K. So I said, you know what, let's let it ride, watch the game. Mets were off last night, so that made it easier on me. But I just enjoy everything about it. Like, you know, they got to sell their stuff and make their money, but at least they have subdued ads behind the plate with the, it's all wooden with white font. And then the bug in the bottom right of the TV broadcast has the old-timey scoreboard on it. And then you just see the overhead shots of everything around the field. Yeah. And it's cornfields for days. And you know it is. I've seen the movie. I've memorized half the movie, maybe more. But it's just when you see it, I think, damn, I need to go to that before I leave this earth.
So that's the funny point. So we talk about different eras of fandom and different ways of viewing sports, depending on when you grew up. Obviously, I'm of the old demo in this group as host here. I'm a guy that very much grew up on baseball and am a fan. Part of the problem is that I am a P1, right? I'm the guy that I'm the guy they want, right? I'm the guy they have, actually, is what I should say. I'm the last of the guys that they have. They're trying to get more of people either your age or Director Matthews' age. Ironically, you're a big baseball fan, and so is he. But he's an old soul, and so are you. And it's interesting to me that's the case, because most of the time when I meet 30-year-olds or younger, and they're not loving baseball. They're not loving baseball. They find it boring. They typically trot out the cliche commentary as embraced by, say, Dan Le Batard. Those guys all like to point out that baseball's old and of the past, and it doesn't matter. And that's because those guys are huge basketball guys, and that's fine. I think there's always room for all of the sports. I don't see the need to compete. I know they're competing for television revenue, and I get all that. But it's always like fans of football or fans of basketball or fans of whatever like to denigrate the other sports in a way to prop up the sport that they love. And I'm always thinking, well, that's dumb. I'm a sports fan. They're seasons. They're seasonal. I'm into football when it's football season. I'm into baseball when it's baseball season. The two cross over a little bit. All of that, that's fine. But baseball is the only one of the sports that I think does tap in really well to yesteryear. I don't think football does that. I don't think you look at old football highlights and goes, oh, that's great. No, old football kind of sucks. It's, you look at 1950s football, you're like, this is garbage. That guy's 152 pounds playing center. It's not relatable. Baseball is very relatable across the centuries.
Well, one of the things that COVID taught me was that even 1980s football is not relatable. The size of the shoulder pads, the tracks that they're running on are all mutters, it seems like. Yeah. The helmets and the face masks are ridiculous. The body types of the players are not specialized whatsoever. You're like, that passes for an offensive lineman? What?
Right.
The hell is this? And everybody just looks slower, even though they aren't. It's an illusion of the TV. If you look at some of the better quarterbacks of the days, I retweeted a post of McManus for the Noles, Danny McManus.
Throwing darts.
Oh, my God. That would play now? Oh, 100% that would play now.
And, Tom, he was legitimately good quarterback. I'm old enough to remember him. He's a legitimately good quarterback, and hence the reason he went to Canada and broke all kinds of records.
Right. I mean, there was one pass he completed to Herb Gainer, and I thought, Jesus, we could use that now. I haven't seen a throw like that in practice in years. Well, but even still, the appearance of the game, it's just on TV, I'm like, ugh, it's not recognizable, at least for the most part, short of a mound being lowered a little bit and, maybe a couple of things being tweaked here or there with the bases in the near future. The dimensions of a baseball field are the same, and it's okay that they are. Like, I feel like we've outgrown as a race, a human race, the basketball court. The thing's too damn small. 10 feet's too low. The three-point line is like a mid-range jumper at best these days for all these behemoths that can shoot. Mm-hmm. A baseball field still feels about right, and 90 feet from home to first still yields a lot of close plays. Like, we haven't outgrown them as a species enough that if a ground ball is hit into the hole, a guy's automatically safe. It hasn't gotten there yet. That's the interesting thing to me about baseball is how the hell did they get it right with these distances between things that things are still interesting 120 years after the game started.
It's true. It's a great observation. I point it out to my kids all the time. I'm like, how in 1918 did they get it right in 2018? It's the same. It's like an extraordinary athlete, a preternaturally gifted eye-hand coordination player can still put up numbers that are baffling. Mike Trout sort of transcends the game occasionally, where you look at him and what he's capable of, and you think, well, he's better than the game, if you will, and that he hits laser beams that never get 10 feet off the ground, 430 feet, like that. He's that kind of strong. Well, guess what? People did that back then too. But they were all Hall of Famers, and so is he. And his numbers aren't so outlandish as to say it's the steroid era. Like, not that. It's not 73 home runs in a season. It's not that. right? Mike Trout has a great year. He might hit 48 bombs and 330 and 120 RBIs. People have done it. People have done it. Babe Ruth and them did it way back when, but they were extraordinary. They were outliers. The outliers are still putting up unbelievable numbers, but they're numbers that are equivalent to the ancient game, if you will, whereas the middling player is the middling player. How they get there is different. The methodology is different, but the sport, now, admittedly, the people playing the sport do look different because physical fitness is an actual thing now.
Right.
You know, the guys that showed up to spring training in the 1920s were fresh off of being at the bar all night and sleeping with a hooker and then waking up and smoking a cigar and walking into camp. I mean, that's kind of how those guys lived, but people stay in shape these days. So that's the only thing that's changed. Like Joe Morgan was an elite player. When you look at old footage of Joe Morgan, you're like, man, my wife would beat his ass. He is tiny and impish and just, you're like, come on, dude. But other than that, the numbers and the way the game is played stays the same. I bring it up because as we were watching last night, Bryce and Clark said, we should go there. And I was excited that they wanted to go there because they're 14 and 12 respectively. And I wouldn't have guessed that that would be something that they cared to see because it's A, baseball related, and B, it's a farm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and I can't imagine it's going to be very cheap. Like that's going to have to be a bucket list trip where you expense it out and you save for it, you budget for it, because there's only so many seats. They may expand that thing. There's definitely room down the first base line to expand it. They could add a second deck behind home plate in the grandstand if they wanted to do that. But, you know, if the Mets ever played out there, I can't imagine that a seat would be cheaper than $1,200, $1,500. I mean, it's probably more. It's probably worth a lot more than that. So it's something that'll have to be down the line. But it's enough to capture the attention of a casual to diehard baseball fan. I put my wife somewhere in the middle where she would say, hey, let's just put that game on. You know, how did she hear about it? She's not on a sports channel all day long. She's not on a website that's dedicated to sports all day. But she knew enough to say, hey, I think the Twins might have been playing last night too. Either way, she said, let's put the Field of Dreams game on. That's what they're going for. That's what MLB's trying to do, is to get that fan to say, this is an event. And through 2 events, next year we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's my point. They're on to something. They stumbled into something there. Like that movie came out in 1989.
Right.
It's been a long time. I don't know what took so long. I mean, but they figured it out. I mean, I know that place had to be built up a little bit more over time. But, man, guys, it was 30-something years ago. We could have got on this a little bit sooner. Like, this is a huge hit. I think the ratings are going to be good for that game. Like a regular season baseball game on a Thursday, I think those numbers will be huge.
They should be relative to regular season baseball games anyway, because baseball, as you like to point out, is a regional sport. So if you've got Fox Baseball's game of the week, who gives a damn? Like, I don't care that it's the Cardinals and the Brewers, or if you're in select markets, you get, the Dodgers and the Padres. Maybe we would tune into Dodgers and Padres, but if your Pirates are in a pennant race playing at the same time, you're not saying, let me go see the national game of the week. No. Certainly, if the Mets are playing the Braves or the Phillies or whoever, I'm like, screw the Dodgers and Padres. I'm watching my game. So relative to that rating, I think this one last night is going to do very, very well. Here's how you know it's going to do well. The networks aren't sticking it on a Friday night. A Thursday is a good night for inventory. Yeah. So if they're going to put it on a Thursday, that tells you that they expect it's going to do very well.
You know, it's interesting. I often catch myself. I wonder if this is, I think it's a universal truth, perhaps just human nature and the psychology. But when you're 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, now the difference between the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old me and that of a kid my children's ages is that my options were extremely limited. So when I woke up on a Saturday morning at my father's house, and my parents were divorced, so I'd spend certain weekends with him and certain weekends at my mom's house. So if I were at my dad's house, we'd get up, and I knew he was going to read the paper, and that was just a cool process to sit at the breakfast table and to go through box scores and do all those old-timey things that people don't do anymore. But for me to go into the other room, again, you had in St. Petersburg, Channel 8, Channel 10, Channel 13, 44 WTOG. Those were the channels that you had. Well, This Week in Baseball would come on. And This Week in Baseball meant the world to me because you couldn't see Rod Carew play. Rod Carew at that time was playing for the Angels, and I never saw Rod Carew. And so I knew Rod Carew was hitting 357 that year. He's got to be doing something pretty amazing. I'd like to see what Rod Carew looks like. So I'd go in the other room and I'd watch This Week in Baseball, and I would get the highlights of Rod Carew's week or whatever, Jim Bibby or whomever it is you're talking about. These are players of my day. But I could watch that show start to finish, and everything from the slow motion replays to the music and This Week in Baseball, just when they would say it, I would get giddy. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. That doesn't exist anymore because we have a gazillion choices, and grabbing anybody's attention for any length of time is extremely difficult to do. But I do wonder if I'm nostalgic over that time because I was of a right age. Most people are that way about music too. Music sounds different to you when you're discovering yourself. And then you find a song that relates to you discovering yourself and you connect to it. You never do that in your 40s. There's no song that comes out now, no matter how good it is, Tom, that when you hear it takes you to that special place of connectivity regarding sort of that inner workings and figuring out your personality. You'll just say, this is a good song. I like this song. The lyrics might move me. The melody might move me. I'm going to listen to this song. I'd like to hear more from this band. You're not like transformed the way you are as a kid when you listen to music. And it's weird. I wonder if sports ever do that anymore. I thought about it last night watching the game. Do sports do that for today's kids? Because they did me, but I don't know if they do anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a different version of sports. And listen, man, Adele keeps teaching me lessons. Whatever I get, Adele keeps teaching me lessons about who I am. I never knew that, Adele. Thank you for the education about how I feel about things. It's different. It's the social media highlight packages. It's YouTube clips. It's YouTubers going in depth, and usually they're terrible. But they're going in depth about what this player is on an NBA court or what this player is on an NFL team.
Right.
That's the way my nephew consumes things. Like, it's amazing. I know the stories by heart that my dad and his brothers every morning in the 50s in Brooklyn, right down the road from Ebbets Field, they'd have 2 index cards for the box scores. And so they go inning by inning, but they go half by half. So they measured it out. And so the second index card was to keep the bottom of the inning secret. So you could go top, bottom, all the way through the 9. And they'd react to every number that they're like, oh, it's 6 in a row, 6 shutout innings. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And then for me, it was Baseball Tonight or SportsCenter. Like, Rich Eisen or Stuart Scott could play with my emotions for 10 seconds when they show highlights of the Mets going up 4-0. But then if the Braves the Braves answered, I'm like, son of a, in that 10th of a second when they say, and the Braves answer, it's second and third, you could see on the TBS graphic, and then there's a shot into the gap, and I'm going, no, I'm yelling at highlights of a game the way they were yelling at a box score. And now the new generation, what are they doing? SportsCenter is archaic as the newspaper. So what are they doing? They're going to YouTube, and they're watching highlight films in no particular order. It's not even about the previous day. It's about a mixtape of player highlights, and that's how they get to know them.
Yeah. To never have experienced the magic of Mel Allen's voice on This Week in Baseball makes me sad for kids, but I get it. I mean, every generation has its thing, and I'm missing out on something, I'm sure. But I do know that was a different way of consuming sports. I do think it's made the average fan, and this is not old man on the porch, get off my lawn guy. I think this is about the battle for our attention. I believe that most young sports fans, and that includes a lot in this demo listening to me now, and I appreciate you listening, are dumber as sports fans. They don't know the game. They know highlights and they know fantasy numbers. They do not know the game. There's nothing wrong with fantasy sports. I play them. Because they don't sit long enough to watch how a game is arriving at a certain point. You and I can watch a football game from start to finish and see a trend growing and know what it means midway through the first quarter as to the impact it's going to have late in the third quarter. A lot of kids cannot do that and do not do that. It is the red zone of our time. It is the ability to flip where the action is, the scoring play is happening now. So let's get to that. It is very much the iTunes version of sports viewing.
Well, it's like they make the drug stronger, and it takes less time to get you where you want to go. And not that I'm speaking from experience, but just think about it with Red Zone versus an NFL triple header on CBS or something along those lines. It's just about action, 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 action. I agree with that. But here's the other side. If they can make it through that, they're smarter than they've ever been because analytics does help color in the gaps. For us, there were gaps like, that's just an intangible. I don't know how they do it. Analytics helps that intangible become more tangible. It doesn't replace viewing the games. I'm not going to go that far. And I know the Get Off My Lawn guy will always say the games matter. They do. They matter greatly. But there are also between the lines numbers and ideas and concepts that we could never put our finger on, and now you can. So if you can get past that first hurdle as a younger viewer or a newer viewer, you're going to be more informed than any fan that there's ever been. It's just a matter of if you want to or not, or if you just want to scroll to the next highlight.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. I don't think that they're inclined to want to kick down that barrier because they've never had to. Everything is at their fingertips. Look, there are a lot of advantages with modern technology, and certainly there's a ton of information, as you're pointing out, that helps inform those gray areas, those areas of mystery from our youth, without question. But I use them to supplement my understanding of the game. Yeah. I mean, I use that as I watched this game. I saw the physical mismatch. I saw where the guard was getting pushed into the backfield on every play. There are, to know that the effect that was going to have later as the game wore on was going to be greater. It's fun to kind of, how we arrived here matters. And it also helps you project where that's going the following week and the week after as you watch these aspects of a team's strengths and weaknesses grow or diminish. You do not get it with a highlight, and you do not get it in the red zone. You don't get any of that.
Well, and here's the other thing. Fantasy sports is the early iteration, and that was really reaching its peak as I was even in high school. I joined a league in 2001. I'm still in it 21 years later. But I'll give you hope, because it sounds like we're arguing over the fate of Will Hunting or something like that. And here's where you get hope. Gambling is going to inform those kids even more, sir. Gambling is going to put them in a position to where they're going to want to do the research, because gambling is going to be a norm to these kids in a way that it never has been. Not for you, certainly not for me. They're going to grow up in a world where sports gambling is just a fact, the way that free agency was just a fact for me before your time.
It's a beautiful thing. Grown-ups deciding what to do with their hard-earned money, unencumbered by insane laws that seek to restrict your ability to do what you'd like to do as a free-thinking man or woman. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And you're right, because you will not win gambling if you do not do the work. You cannot win.
So a brief story. When I was in New York in July, we were going to get breakfast, and these kids come in. Kids are off from school. They bike in, and they're talking about how their dads, this is totally illegal, but how their dads have given them a bank to gamble for them. They're like in their teens, and they're talking about how their dads have given them a bank to gamble on baseball for the offseason. Like, well, here's what you need to do. What I've noticed is, if you go first 5 innings with the Reds, you play against them every time, you're going to win 3 out of 5 this week. You should see how much I'm up. I'm like, oh, no, sir.
Yeah, that's actually not good. That's where I'll draw the line. You don't need to be giving your underage kids a bankroll. That's probably not a good idea. Let them learn the process as they watch you. Like, I don't try to hide it. People wonder, like, well, what do you do? Well, you've got kids. We know you're a responsible dad. What do you do? I'm like, well, Clark was the first to really want to get into the numbers. Bryce didn't pay it any attention, so I never brought it up. But Clark would sit on my lap and be like, what are you doing, Dad? I'm like, well, I'm looking at these numbers. What about those numbers, Dad? Like, Clark has got some inner criminal in him.
He's going to be running numbers for his tackle football team. He's going to be like, okay, Jimmy, you've had a great week of practice. Anybody over under 52 yards for Jimmy on Saturday?
Yeah, he got excited. I used to play on this site. I don't play it anymore, but I used to play on this site. You could play video blackjack, and you bet real money on your computer, and I did. And I started playing that, and I'll tell the story really quick. So I won several hands in a row, and he goes, "Dad, you're up $700." And I go, "Yeah, I am. I should probably call it a day here. The odds are against me every hand I play moving forward here." And he's like, no. Here, let's do this. And Christy walked by and went, "What in the hell is going on in there?" It's like, "Nothing. Shutting down the computer. We're good." From that point forward, Clark has asked if we could play on that particular site, like once a month.
Look,
"Hey, Dad, we should fire up the computer and play."
On his 18th, you're going to have to take him to a casino and teach him the propers. You know, like you're going to have to do it with the envelope. Take the envelope. This is all you got, man. This is
it. This is it. You walk away, baby.
The envelope is life. Okay. You don't go beyond the envelope, because I don't need you calling me 3 years from now at 5 a.m. saying, "Dad, Dad, you got to help me."
No, it ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. No. When he gets a job, I might think about it. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Wooden Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at widdenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
So let's say you're considering buying a new home in the current climate. All heard that demand is high, inventory is low. So how do you get a leg up on the rest of the buyers all making offers on the same house as you? Oh, that's a toughie. But the first place I'd suggest you start is with a call to my friend Shannon at Legendary Home Loans. Shannon will set you up with a complete pre-approval underwriting. This used to be an upgrade, but nowadays it's got to be standard. You want to get your offer on a new home pushed to the front of the line, you need a TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans. You'll shorten or even remove your financing contingency, and the sellers will know that your offer is real and ready to go. It's tough out there these days, folks, so why not have the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle? Get pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon with the one and only Legendary Home Loans. Call now, 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS number 2270146.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to tread water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
If you buy too much, you waste money. If you come up short, you waste time. And if you don't have the right metal, you waste time and money. You got to spend wisely. MetalSupermarkets.com is your online source for metal with the deepest metal inventory. Just enter your dimensions and we'll cut the metal to your exact spec and deliver it to your home, business, or job site. MetalSupermarkets.com. Any metal cut to size and ready fast is just a few clicks away. MetalSupermarkets.com.
We heard you have a thing for shopping, but what if you didn't have to do it alone? Here at Stitch Fix, we pair you with a stylist so you can discover fresh looks your closet can't live without. We learn your taste, size, and price range and deliver outfits you'll wear again and again. Whether you like modern blazers or boho dresses, we make your thing our thing. Stitch Fix. Get $20 off your first purchase at stitchfix.com/radio. Limited time offer. You must purchase within 2 days of signing up.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com. Wrapping it up, Libations Friday, Loosey Goosey. Hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, another reminder, it's only $1. It's $1. That's it. That's all. Warchant.com. Attention, calling all FSU fans. For a limited time only, you can be a subscriber to Warchant.com for just $1 on 3 network is what I wanted to say. $1. $3 would still be a good deal, but it's just $1. It's just $1. Head to warchant.com to sign up for 1 year. Do it while this special lasts. You're going to want to do it. We have a lot of great things for you this year. Go to warchant.com to sign up for just $1. All right, before we get to probables, before I go that route, I wanted to read for you something here just because I thought we'd have fun with that. There was an article today written by Adam Rittenberg, who I've spoken to over the years on SiriusXM, does a good job reporting for ESPN.com, College Football Insider. And they were the article, the crux of the article was the annual Underachiever tiers of college football list. We always love this subject. We love to see the coach that does more with less, but we especially love to talk about the coach that does less with more. Guess who number 1 was, guys? Yeah, Texas A&M. I read from the article. A year ago, Texas A&M shared the second tier with UCLA and Texas in terms of long-term underachievement. The Aggies were closer to Georgia. The 2021 season didn't help the team's reputation. Coming off a number 4 finish in 2020, A&M entered the fall ranked number 6, but ended up 8-4. An all too familiar result. Other than an upset of number 1 Alabama, Aggies coach Jimbo Fisher became the first ex-Nick Saban assistant to beat Saban. Texas A&M had largely a forgettable season. And they go on to explain why it is that this is their annual lot in life, and that Fisher, who's made, $75 million guaranteed contract last fall, announced a $205 million facilities plan, and all of that, how it is that they ought to be moving into the direction of dominating football but have yet to do so. Yeah, that's all there. But in fairness, unfortunately, I do think the best days lay ahead for Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, as there are unbelievable resources, and they've also had some classes that now kind of go down in history as some of the best classes of all time in the world of recruiting. Seems to me that it's just a short period of time before Texas A&M wins themselves a Western Division title, and then with that, of course, would be virtually an automatic spot in the playoff, because I would assume if you win the West, you're probably going to win the SEC at this juncture. Florida's not back to where they need to be. Tennessee's not there yet. Kentucky's not there. So it would seem to me that if they ever do that, they're going to be all right. But I wouldn't pick them to do it this year. That would be Alabama, and that game is one to circle on your calendar. That was the aside. If you would, hit probables, and we will get to. All right, let it fly.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
Braves, Marlins, TBD, Pablo Lopez. Padres, Nationals, Mike Clevenger, and Corey Abbott. We got the Guardians and the Blue Jays. That is Cal Quantrill, Jose Barrios. Orioles, Rays. Orioles, by the way, 58-53. Cool season for the O's. Those are good fans. That's a great stadium. I'm happy for the folks that make their way into Camden. In my youth, I went to that stadium a lot. Baltimore and the Rays, that is Austin Voth and Corey Kluber. We got the Phils and the Mets. So, Director Matthew, you and Tommy got to have another side wager as always. Unfortunately for you, it starts with Max Scherzer for the Mets. Ranger Suarez going for the Phillies. Okay, Phillies playing well. Tigers, White Sox, Daniel Norris, Michael Kopech. We got the Yankees and the Red Sox renewing the rivalry. That is Domingo Herman and Nathan Evaldi. Mariners, Rangers, full slate here. George Kirby, Josh, I guess you would say Spores, perhaps Sports, don't know. Dodgers, Royals, Tony Gonsolin and Daniel Lynch. A's, Astros, Adam Aller and Luis Garcia. And the Brewers and the Cardinals, Eric Lauer and Jordan Montgomery. D-backs, Rockies, Zach Davies, Antonio Cincinnati. Finally, Twins, Angels, Tyler Mahal, Patrick Sandoval. Late night, my Pirates face my dad's Giants. Tender moment. Both teams under 500, but it's father and son getting after it here. Bryce Wilson going to pitch for the Pirates. He of the 2-6, 5.87 Wilson ERA family. Carlos Rodon pitching for the Giants. I would say a decided advantage lies with the San Francisco Giants. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump. Have a great weekend, my friends. Don't forget, we'll have Mike Norvell's interview with the press after Saturday's scrimmage, Saturday night, late night. You'll get that. Don't forget also any updates throughout the afternoon will happen today on warchant.com and Warchant TV live from over in Jacksonville where Corey and Ira are watching. I should say Corey and Aslan are watching practice. That's a good thing. Make sure you tune in for that. Any more updates there. Appreciate you being with us. Don't forget, it's $1. Sign up while it lasts. What a great special. Warchant.com. Go over there, sign up, get you a whole year's worth for just $1. I'll be back with you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Matthew. Be good, everybody. Peace.